Welcome to Gold Fever Radio.
I go straight from the bank, gassing up the tank, cranking up the radio, playing old Hank, and it ain't that long.
I guess I ought to add me to the stream in here, huh? Well, hello everybody. Welcome once again, Gold Fever Radio. It is Wednesday, August the 30th. This is the last day of the month, August the 30th, 2023. How the times are flying by. There's only 123 days left in this year. Let's see what we got going on here. Paul, yes, you're first tonight. Paul, I was going to post that I was first, but I didn't. So you beat me, Paul. You're first. Let's see, Lisa and Patty and Trip and Tommy. Oops, Terry Curry, Josh Cooper. Guys are pretty carrying on conversations amongst themselves there. So, hey, carry on. So the screen, my screen's only like this big, and things disappear really quick. So if I don't see everything, but I try to see everything. You know, we got ghost here in this place. There's a lot of signs of ghost things going on in here. You know, different things. But so sometimes I think there's ghost here underneath my desk. I keep feeling like somebody's touching my knees, so I keep offering them knee pads in case it's landing there. I ain't getting into that. Never mind. Let's see. What is today? Today is National Beach Day. Beach, not bitch. Beach Day. National Beach Day. It's also National Toasted Marshmallow Day. Let's see here. Let's see what else is going on here. On this day, 1968, first record released on Apple label in the UK. What was it? Anybody know what that was? On this day in 1968, the first record released on Apple label in the UK. How smart are all you guys? You guys know that. I'll come back to that. I'll tell you that in a moment while you guys Google that. What else happened in? If it's your birthday, happy birthday. You share birthdays with famous people like Cameron Diaz, 51, born on this day in 1972. She was in movies like The Mask and Something About Mary and Bad Teacher. And she appeared also in Charlie's Angels. Warren Buffett, he's 93, born on this day in 1993. He's just some guy that has lots of money. Upcoming events, we have the Push in Meadview, Arizona. They're by Lake Mead. Josh, you going to come up to this next push? It's going to be a better one this time. This is where we got the backhoe come in, scrape down some ground, expose nuggets in the cool nugget patch. This is scheduled October 14th and 15th. We got the Patreon and channel supporter outing event. That'll be out here. I hope by then I can have a plan of operation or a notice of intent filed by out here. So I can get a backhoe out there. But anyway, that'll be on the claim out here. That is November 18th and 19th, Saturday, Sunday. And then, of course, we have our New Year's event here at the camp, 3 days party in gold. If you want any information about all this stuff or the book, call the camp 928-851-7167. Abbey Road. You are so right, Tommy. Abbey Road is that's the album, the song that was released. The Apple label. Yes, the song was Hey Jude. But you are right, Tommy. The Beatles. Let's see. Daryl. What's happening, Daryl? Mike. So, anyways, that's what's happening on my neck of the woods. Just same old stuff. We have our guest with us tonight. She's been on the show a long time ago. Old Bethany. She's this Alaska relic hunter. She's been up in Alaska. So, what happens to people when they're up in Alaska for a long time? It's just always sunny up there. So, well, maybe it's not always sunny this time of the year. Let's bring her in and see what's happening right here. We are. Good evening.
Hey.
Hey, what's happening?
Well, I'm actually in Sitka, so I'm away from home right now. I've been doing some diving for 4 or 5 days, and so I fly back home tomorrow, but I'm in Southeast Alaska right now, so hopefully my Wi-Fi is working and everybody can hear me.
Oh, yeah, it seems to be working fine. So I was trying to figure where Sitka is. You said southeast?
It's southeast from where I live. Down south a little bit more, which it's a great spot for diving. It's one of my favorite places in Alaska. So
So is it like, okay, like let's just say I've only been to Alaska twice, and that's been over in Nome.
yeah, so Nome's way up high, and
Oh, okay.
southeast is down low. Sitka is actually on Baranof Island, so it's an island down in the southeast, and it's a cute little town.
So what are you diving for up there?
Well, I try to get here once a year to teach scuba classes if I can. This summer I'm not teaching. I just kind of needed a little break, and so I've been down here doing some fun diving. I had a really good dive last night, found some really cool artifacts. And so, yeah, some of it is I'm kind of starting to get into the underwater photography. So I'm doing a little bit of that. And then I did a bottle dive yesterday, found some nice artifacts.
So how far are you going down when you go down?
It just depends. Where we were diving last night, we weren't deep at all. Our max depth was like 35 feet. We were diving in an area where there used to be an old pier that extended out off the island, and now there's no sign of the pier, but there's a lot of things that people threw into the water right there. So yeah, so for this one, it was pretty shallow. I mean, some of the dives I've gone down to 100 or 120 feet if I'm trying to get on a shipwreck or something.
Wow. That's pretty good. I got, like I said, I just got certified a few months ago, but furthest I've ever been down, I think, was like 36 feet as far as I go down. I don't have any intentions of going any deeper than that.
We all start off with saying there's things we're not going to do. It's like I always said, no, I'm never going to do cave diving, never going to do cave diving. And then my friend was like, well, just take the first class. Just do the first one and see what you think. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm hooked. I got to finish this now.
I'm one of them that don't, we don't belong in airplanes. We don't belong underwater.
Well, we actually spent our first 9 months in water. So we do belong in water, actually. So you're kind of going back to a natural state when you're diving.
Well, yeah, but that was like life. You survived then. You've got to use artificial stuff to survive when you dive in water.
Well, you had to use your mom to survive for your first 9 months. So, we all have to have a source from somewhere.
No. Hey, so what I heard about scuba diving, I don't know if everybody knows this or if you knew this, but when I did it, the instructor we were talking, had a lot of talks and stuff, and we were talking about full face mask because that's a different certification you have to do to full face mask. And he was telling me that wherever that was at back, some other country where all those kids got trapped in that cave and how they got them out of that cave.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that story?
Yeah, they had to use full face masks because they medicated them and made sure that
Yeah.
they were unconscious when or asleep when they took them out. Um, because there was a lot of complications in that situation. You know, they had low visibility, high currents, kids that have never done anything. You wouldn't want them to freak out. So, yeah, in a case like that, they had to put a full face mask
Yeah.
on.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, he was telling me that they had to get permission from the government or something, but they knocked him out
Yep.
and put the full face mask on him and then drug him out. I thought, man, that was pretty ingenious to
It
do that.
was, yeah, what it took to go into that. Yeah, the full face mask, I've dove it a little bit, not a lot. When I did a little bit of gold dredging up north on the 40 mile, we were in a river, and so we were using full face mask with surface supplied air um, down there to do that instead of like scuba tanks, which I don't really like full face mask. For its purpose, it's great. But if I'm just scuba diving, you know, I prefer to have my regulator and my mask separate because if one thing fails, you only lose one. With the full face mask, if you have a failure, you know, that's your eyesight and it's your air at the same time.
That's true.
A few more complications with that one.
Yeah, no, when I went to get certified, he didn't certify me the first time because my mask kept flooding on me, and I had so when we went back to the shop, the other guy said, "How'd he do?" And he said, "Oh, he's a professional mask clearer," you know, you know. But so finally,
Yeah.
I had to. He they were telling me because of the facial hair, so I just ended up shaving it off just so I could go past this stupid course. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of the guys up here in Alaska dive with, you know, a beard and a mustache, but they just kind of shave it down
Yeah,
so you
at the
can get
top.
that mask
Yeah,
seated well. And you
yeah.
can use some wax and stuff to kind of help with it too.
I've heard that, and then other people's told me that the wax though screws up your mask too. That the
I
rubber
don't
on
know.
the mask.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that use it up here and it works. So it just depends upon how attached you are to your mustache if you need to keep it or
Yeah.
not.
Well, they so I've just been trimming just the top a little bit, and so far it seems to work okay.
Yeah, me too. I just shaved mine off. So it was great.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see, what's there? Steve Collier, Birdman, the Grit, busy, busy living podcast. Okay. Buck Rackley, Richard Duke. Uh, anyways, welcome, guys. If you guys got any questions, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell them what it is you do?
I do a lot of things. Yeah, so everybody can see on the screen there. My name's Bethany, and my YouTube channel is Alaska Relic Hunter, and a lot of people know me as the Alaska Relic Hunter. I started my YouTube channel a few years ago. Just accidentally stumbled across artifacts. I've always loved history and um, accidentally ran across the bottle dump while I was doing some gold panning and discovered that there's artifacts underneath the ground everywhere. And that kind of where I launched it out from. And I've traveled all over the world now finding artifacts. And 3 years ago, I added scuba diving to it. And that was a huge journey for me. I was terrified of the water. Growing up here in interior Alaska, I was born and raised near Chitina Village, so never really learned how to swim well. I could kind of doggy paddle a little bit and float. I float well. So, you know, I just really needed a challenge. At the beginning of 2020, I went through divorce and lost my job in the same month. And just had a lot of challenges, and I needed something big. I just felt like I needed to accomplish something for myself. And so I just decided I'm going to learn to scuba dive. I want to overcome this fear of water. And I've always wondered what it would be like in the ocean. Plus, I knew there was a lot of artifacts and sunken ships, and I loved history and just really wanted to get down there. So yeah, I just one day decided that I was going to sign up and learn to scuba dive. And it was the most terrifying 2 weeks of my life. I didn't sleep much, and I had nightmares that I was drowning every night. and, but I pushed through. I needed it, and it really became like my happy place. I love the ocean. Just started diving once a week, and now I'm an instructor. I teach it and just absolutely love it.
So yeah, I've seen some of your posts. You've come, I mean, a long ways from, like, I don't do. I'm just in calm water, so I don't do any of the currents or, that's all different certifications. I don't like. I mean, I dredge. I go dredging, but that's using a hookah system. You mentioned that earlier, when you're just sucking in air, and I've been down 20 feet or something with that. I don't have a problem with that. Never have. But for some reason, you got the gear is heavy. You got all this tank, and you got
yeah.
controls everywhere, and it's like it's awkward. Rather than just put the hose on and go down. So
it is. You have to learn. There's a finesse. There's a lot of hours of training to really get comfortable. And my kit weighs about 85 or 90 pounds all put together, and so you have to learn how to maneuver that. And then once you get in the water, you're neutrally buoyant and comfortable and all that. But especially in Alaska, it's more weight. It's dry suits. Dry suits are a whole nother thing.
yeah.
It's you really have to. It's a challenge for a lot of people. So yeah, it's different. That's for
I
sure.
noticed. I noticed that you're using the dry suits. That's another certification separately too. Is dry suits.
It is our students. So my students up here, they do their very first open water dive in a dry suit. So they're certified in a dry suit at the same time, which is double challenging to go, from a couple of days of pool work and then right out into the ocean with 35 pounds of additional lead, a 35-pound steel tank, a dry suit, big, thick undergarments. I mean, the ones that certify in February, the water's 35 degrees,
Wow.
and there's a lot of challenges with that.
So, do you do one tank or two tanks?
It depends. So I do side mount diving. I don't do doubles right now, but I will. When I started my cave diving classes, I took a side mount class. So in that situation, I have two tanks next to me, and I will dive with two. Sometimes I'll throw back gas on and just throw a stage on my side, so I have some extra gas if I want some. But so yeah, for most of my diving, I just do one, especially with my students.
Well, that's called, if you got them extra tank, isn't that called that's your buddy?
Yeah. yeah. I have done a little bit of solo diving, but we don't obviously recommend that because not just the extra air source, but it's an extra brain. If you have a dive buddy, if something goes wrong, having that extra person with you it's important.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, those are things that we had to learn. When you have your dive buddy, and he takes the thing out of his mouth, and then you've got to give him your spare, or pull yours, get, all this stuff, and
yeah,
it's like,
it's good drills. It's a lot of people will learn that in their open water, and they do the share air, and then they go, the rest of their dive career and never use it, and then all of a sudden somebody is out of there and needs it, and they don't really remember those skills. And I recommend a lot of divers, even if they've been diving for years, plan a dive and tell your buddy ahead of time, hey, let's practice an out of air scenario. Let's practice some of this stuff just as we dive in life and make sure our skills are, where they need to be.
yeah. I One of my things, like when I was going out or meet these guys up there, he always brings me two tanks because I go through a lot of air, and I think it's because I you're not supposed to be in water, and I don't really panic, but I'm always breathing because I want to make sure I can breathe, and I do
Well,
suck through a lot of air.
And that's really common with new divers. And, that's something I probably had 30 or 40 dry suit dives under me before I stopped having anxiety while I was diving. I had quite a few dives under me before I started trusting my equipment and learning just to relax and manage my breathing. And that just comes with time and a lot of dives. I used to suck down. My very first tank I bought was like 130 cubic foot. Like I bought a massive one because I just sucked the gas down, and I was so nervous. And now I dive like 100 cubic foot to three of my students' 80s, and I'll just throw 100 on my back and I'll leave it on while I do 3 dives with them. So it's something that you just learn to control your breathing, and then you don't use as much.
Well, I've probably only been in the water maybe, I don't, well, after a certificate, maybe 5 times, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But I went all out. I had to get the gigantic watch thing, the really cool $2,500 this, and, spend about $5,000 and say, "Well, that was fun."
Well, add another 5 to that and you can get a dry suit.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to do it just to do it. Just say I'd done that.
Yeah.
But I did. I went and bought all the equipment, everything I need except the tanks. I just rent them. But now I got everything, so hey, once in a while I have to go. But
yeah.
It's cool.
Well, it's one of those things that the more you do it, the better, more comfortable you'll get, and it'll become natural.
Terry wants to know what's the neatest thing you've ever found.
Oh, people ask me that all the time, and that is such a loaded question. That one's so hard. Probably one of the most emotional items I found. I was in Egypt, and I was at the 6-step pyramid, which is 1,000 years older than the Great Pyramids. And it's in Saqqara, which is really a special area. It's an archaeological district, so it's gated. You have to go in with a special group. There's a lot more. It's not just the tourist trap like the Great Pyramids are, And outside the 6-step pyramid, outside one of the tombs, I found the bottom of a pot that still had a hieroglyph on it.
Wow.
And 5,000 years old, made with Egyptian red clay. And that was pretty emotional. You're sitting there watching the sand blow across the hills, and this guy on a camel rides by, and you're down inside these tombs, and you pick up this old piece of pottery, and you're just like, this cannot be real. No way.
Did you get to keep it?
It was gifted to me by the group I was with.
Cool.
So yeah, it was. And then, here in Alaska, probably one of the coolest things I found here. I like to follow the Alaska Railroad construction history. And so one of the sites that I was digging on, I found a child's cast iron sewing machine. So it's just a little tiny, I don't know, it's probably 10 inches, across, and it's a solid cast iron. It's a little training machine, and it would have been hand cranked, and had a little base about 3 feet under the ground, a little ways away. We found the base for it, and it looks like a miniature Singer sewing machine. So that's one of my coolest finds here in Alaska.
That's cool. Let's see. Craig Carter, Paul Hemingway. Let's see. Paul, Bethany, do you dig out old latrines too?
Hi, Paul. How's it going? Yep. So we're going to go into privy holes. Privy holes are the best. People who don't dig a lot ask about outhouse holes, latrines and privy holes. So years ago, they would throw trash in their outhouse holes. And when it got filled up, they would cover it up and dig another outhouse hole. So, yep.
Say that fast.
Yeah.
Say that real fast. Outhouse.
Outhouse hole. So yeah, no, we're not digging anything gross or disgusting. It's all just turned into organic matter and dirt. And some of the best, I found some really cool artifacts in some of the privy holes that I've dug. I found here in Alaska a World War I trench lighter and it says Hungary on it. And so that would have come up a long time ago. I found that 5 hours away from any town, so it was pretty remote. A handgun, a made handgun holster, a leather holster. I found that in a privy hole, had somebody's initials on it. So somebody probably dropped the gun down there, but I couldn't find it, so they must have rescued it back out.
I got to go find some privy hole. Patty says your equipment weighs more than you do.
Yeah, pretty heavy.
Paul says, when you coming back to the UK, check out the Field of Dreams.
So Paul and I did a YouTube video in the UK. If you guys go to my YouTube channel, Paul shared one of his special locations called the Field of Dreams with me. And we found some pretty awesome stuff. He had dug a lot of really cool artifacts there in Devon, England, close by there. So yeah, that's on my list to get back there one of these days again.
Terry says he doesn't know if his Patty card is still good. I don't think they ever expire, do they?
So the Patty cards don't expire. Depending upon when you got it, at first they had kind of just a paperwork filing system. And so some of the original cards were lost, and people, when they switched to computerizing everything, all of a sudden people disappeared. They were like, I can't find anything. My name's not on there. I have taught classes for a couple of people who said, I got certified, back in 1980 and they can't find me. And so they just took the class again. Plus, honestly, if you haven't dove in the last 5 years, it's recommended to take the class again. Diving is just changing so quickly with technology, and they're learning more and more that if it's been a while since your class, you will be surprised at where diving has come. It's, right now, divers aren't even, using a lot of, the charts to calculate depth and everything anymore. It's pretty much computer diving. And right now, Patty doesn't even really introduce the charts until you get to like a dive master level. So, most people are just computer diving. That's what these classes are.
Yeah, when I went through it, they just talked about the charts. But yeah, it's all on gauges now. Your gauge tells you everything you need to know. So.
Yeah. If you have any question on the test, the answer is always do what the computer tells you to do.
Oh, okay.
That's the answer.
Let's see. Mike says he tried to get certified. He had a problem with his ears. I had the problem too, because you always got to equalize your ears, and sometimes I'd get too deep and I couldn't get them to equalize, so I'd have to go back up a little bit to equalize before I could continue down. Or sometimes your ears would hurt and you got to go back up to equalize.
And that's something that gets fine-tuned in with more diving. New divers have a hard time controlling their buoyancy at first. And the more you dive, the slower you can descend and control your buoyancy. So as a diver, the more you dive, pretty soon you can just descend very, very slowly, and it doesn't really become too much of an issue with the ears.
Yeah, so somebody said you shouldn't dive. You should always have a dive buddy, and that's true. And then somebody says their sweetheart brother died scuba diving. He got caught in kelp beds. Yeah, it's
there's a lot of things, that happen if you're diving alone. It's not a good idea.
No. Let's see. What's Birdman saying? If you find any anti-tank mines, don't tell Jack. Don't let Jack touch them. I won't touch any anti-tank mines. Yeah. Let's see. In the Ice Age, Tuscan bones. Richard asked.
I haven't done anything here in Alaska. A lot of the land up here is Alaska Native land, and you need a lot of permits and permissions and things to do anything on Alaska Native land. So I have done fossil diving. I like to go down to Florida and scuba dive for megalodon teeth. I found a walrus ivory tusk about maybe like 12 or 14 inches. Um, that was really cool. From probably, they think the last time that walrus were down in Florida was like 8,000 years ago. So finding a piece of walrus ivory in Florida was a really unusual find.
So I guess when you dive, then, because I've heard that somebody else, lady, dives treasures out there in Florida, but she was saying something about they have really bad the undercurrents. I guess are really bad. I know that's a different certification too that
It,
you have to
you
do.
know, it depends upon where you go. When I dive for megalodon teeth, I dive out of Venice usually. It's low visibility. It's usually 6 to 10 foot viz maybe. But you're right off the bottom looking for stuff. So, you don't need to see very far anyway. And I haven't ever really had too much of an issue, with currents there, but I usually dive pretty shallow for those. They're in like 30 feet of water or less. So um I think any place you go, you can have currents. You just need to kind of know your dive sites and, read up on it ahead of time, know what's happening.
How to get out of it if you get caught in a current, and
Yeah, and most dive sites, people have, unless you're exploring new dive sites, there's been somebody there. You have a pretty good idea if you're going to a questionable site usually. There's one called the washing machine that people go to, and it's famous for that. There's different sites around the world where people know that there's more down currents and things like that. And if you're not prepared to deal with that, if you're a new diver, I would just stick to sites are going to be good for learning on.
yeah. Well, all I say is I tell the guy that my instructor guy, because that's basically the only one I know. Whenever I go out, I'll call and say, "You guys going out?" And okay, bring me a tank. I'll go out. But I'm just metal detecting. All I really want to do, you know, 10 feet down, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of times, if you're going for artifacts, you're not going to be really deep. And I mean, it depends. Shipwrecks, like I've dove a couple deeper, shipwrecks in the Red Sea, different places like that. But, a lot of times you're going off a place where there was a pier or a dock or something like that. And so it's not going to be very deep if you're trying to metal detect for artifacts and stuff.
yeah, the only place I've ever gone to is Lake Havasu, and so we've been down there, and there's a ton of people posting videos about that, and there was an old Jeep down there, and an old ship, a sail ship, and fire hydrants and toilets, and
Hmm.
just stuff like that that we've gone around and seen. I've checked out, but that's you do it once, that's okay. I don't need to keep going down to see all that stuff. I'm just looking for people's lost stuff, metal detected. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I met up with some buddies in Washington State, and we did some underwater metal detecting in this location where I think it was World War I. There was a mosquito fleet stationed there, and the servicemen had thrown trade tokens and coins and all that over. And so we went down with just little pulse detectors and just found hundreds of trade tokens and coins. And So that's really fun. And we were in like 30 feet of water, so it's not deep. You can spend, an hour and a half down there if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm down 45 minutes an hour, that's plenty. That's-
Yeah. Oh yeah, especially in Alaska, up
oh
here
yeah.
you do an hour or an hour and 15 and you're going to start getting chilly.
Well, like I said, I've dredged up there and down and well up there, no, but after about it seems like not even 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, you got to come up because your lips are blue and you're just you you're freezing, you're cold.
Yeah, and it depends upon your setup, what you have for hood and gloves. And, when I dive up here, I have a dry suit and I use dry gloves with like wool liners underneath. And my hood is 10 millimeter thick neoprene
Wow.
hood. So, you have to dress for it. A lot of the people up here that, especially that teach scuba diving, they have like heated undergarments. So you can stay warmer longer and you get the right equipment, it works.
Yeah, but all that like so when I dredge, I've got a 7 mil suit and it's like so big it fits me perfect. But when I've scubaed, mine's like whatever it is. I think it's a 3.5, and I feel confined. It's like I can't breathe. I'm suffocating. I'm panicky. It's too tight.
Well, and maybe you can go with a little warmer suit and get something a little bit looser, for your scuba diving, and see if you can kind of get rid of some of that feeling of constriction. Maybe your suit doesn't fit you quite right, so you shouldn't feel that confined where you feel
I
like you
think
can't breathe.
no, it's claustrophobic is what it is. So I mean, everything fits. It's just that claustrophobic feeling.
Yep. Yeah, it's just practice. It's just learning to relax.
Yeah, and then you put it on in the truck or on the truck there, and then you got to walk down the water, and you feel like you're going to fall over. You got to keep your balance, and
Yeah, but once you're in the water, you're weightless. So,
it is. I have, so what I have a hard time doing is, you carry your flippers down with you, and so then you got to try to put them on in the water, and then I keep falling backwards, and
that's what you got a dive buddy for. You grab their arm and lean
oh,
forward, get your fins on.
oh, guys don't touch each other.
Oh, hey, in Alaska, when you got 40 extra pounds of lead on there, you
Yeah.
help each other, even if you're guys.
Oh, I know with all the weights. I don't have that much weights. I think I maybe only have 12 pounds of weights or something like that's on me.
Yeah. It's different with dry suit diving. So, because you have the dry suit and the big thick undergarments, you have to have a lot more weight to counteract that buoyancy.
Oh,
So, the average adult is going to have around 32 to 36 pounds of additional lead when they're diving up here.
wow.
So, in the winter, I wear a really thick undergarment with lots of layers, and I wear about 38 pounds of additional lead to counteract all my layers. So, yep,
That's a lot. That's uh, a lot of.
it's a lot
Well,
to maneuver.
but once you're in the water, then it's all whatever they call it.
Yeah, you're neutrally buoyant at that point once you get in the water, but it's definitely a lot for new divers. That's a lot of weight if you think about everything you learned, and then you think about adding a dry suit and all that weight day one from the first moment in the water. Alaska is the second hardest place in the world to learn to scuba dive. It's very, very challenging, and so I take my hat off to every one of my divers who pass that class, especially in the winter. It's challenging and they have to really dig deep and find the strength to, they have to want it for themselves. And, I have some students that come in and, I ask everybody at the beginning of a class, why do you want to learn to scuba dive? Because it tells me a lot about mentally what we're going to deal with during the class. And if someone says, oh, my boyfriend wants me to, or my spouse wants me to, or something like that, the chances are that they might not finish the class, because it's very challenging up here, and it has to be something that you want in yourself to do for you, because there's a lot of things to overcome. And so I see that most of the people that end up quitting partway through, they're just doing it to make somebody else happy. It's not like their determination, because it's challenging.
Okay, let me take a break, play a commercial. If you want to take a break or something, can you hang with us a couple minutes?
Yep.
All right, folks, hold on and we will be right back.
ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal is the only monthly gold prospecting magazine published in the United States and is the most comprehensive and respected magazine about gold prospecting on the market today. With readers in all 50 states, it features articles on detecting, high banking, dredging, small-scale operations, assaying, basic geology, how to read the land, regulations, and more. Our monthly Ask the Experts column is answered by true experts. It features answers to readers' questions on processing, detecting, geology, and any other questions you may have related to finding and recovering gold and other precious metals. The Mining Journal features the most extensive selection of equipment, mining properties, services, and more, and a classified section featuring over 20 times more new and used items than the nearest competitor. The Mining Journal has been in continuous publication since 1931. A full 12 issues is available for just $27.95, and discounts are available for 2- and 3-year subscriptions. And an online subscription gives you access to over 3,000 articles going back nearly 20 years. Our purpose is to teach you how to find more gold. ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal is the tool you need to succeed. It's time to raise your gold prospecting knowledge to the next level with ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. Give us a call at 831-479-1500 or visit www.icmj.com. That's www.icmj.com.
All right, we are back here. Let's see what I missed here. Daryl, what did you say? There used to be an old pier in Ehrenberg that the old steamers would dock at in the earlier days, 1860s, 1890s. Could be a good spot to dive in the Colorado River. Yes, that could be.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to come out here. We'll go diving.
That I would be all over that one. That sounds like a great spot to go.
Hey, all right, come on, let's go.
Okay. So you buy me the plane ticket and I'll be there tomorrow.
Hey, come and teach some classes out here.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Paul says there is a job going at Stonehenge if you want it.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff going on in the UK. I love visiting over there and finding stuff. There's just always really amazing stuff going on there with history.
Yeah. Thomas, hello, Thomas. Yeah, Mike says something about practicing life-saving. I know that was one of the things we had to do, like somebody, you have to grab them and swim with them back to the shore, like I'm dying, help me.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good to keep up those skills.
Yeah, because you never know. Like he was so, like the things you don't think about. You have, I practice in the ones that come off you, and it's got your gauges right here that you grab. But I went to the one with the watch on the side that has all your gauges on that. But he was telling me, like if I put on a thing to put valuables in, if I find them, you clip it onto your side, one of them treasure bags or something. And he was telling me don't use carabiners, to clip on, because what can happen with the carabiners is you're down there and that thing can slide open and get caught on something and then you're stuck. You know, he said use the ones that clip, that you got to physically push down to clip on. So he was telling me don't use the carabiners and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and they have a lot that are specifically for diving, and so that's one of those things that, definitely get the right equipment. You want to be able to be safe underwater for sure.
A lot of things you don't think about that could go wrong. So
Yep,
stay
absolutely.
out, stay out of the water and stay alive.
Yeah, well, it's most of the accidents that happen are diver judgment errors. And that's the thing is, if you dive within your training and you dive the way you've been taught, and hopefully you've had good training, diving is safer than getting in your car and driving to the store. Way more people die in car accidents. So the big thing is, know you have good training and follow that. Don't push, your limits. Pay attention, don't dive when you're under the influence of anything. Be aware, make a plan, dive your plan, stick with it, and you're going to have a great dive. So that's the thing is, don't push your limits. If you feel like something's off today and I just shouldn't be diving or something feels wrong, pay attention to that. There's always a time, it's never wrong to cancel a dive if you need to for any reason.
Sounds like a true uh, instructor.
Yeah, don't get me started talking on that. The instructor will come out. So.
Yeah. Go pan and suntans. Hello. So how long, or I should say, what got you started in the whole process? I know you've only been scuba like 3 years or something, but what got you all involved with relic hunting or whatever in the very beginning?
Well, I've always liked history. I was born and raised interior, and I was homeschooled, and my mom was just this crazy history buff. So she made history come alive. We would take trips and visit historical sites. And so I've always loved antiques. And about probably 8 or 9 years ago, I was with my family. We were going to go do some gold panning, and that was kind of a new thing for me. Hadn't really got into that. So we went up into these mountains where we knew there used to be a gold mine, and we didn't do any good with gold panning. But on the way back out, I saw the bottom of this old bottle sticking out of the ground. And I was like, this is really old. Like, I love antiques. I know this is an old glass. And then as I was walking, I was like, this is strange. The ground feels like spongy and crunchy under my feet. So I grabbed a stick, and all of a sudden another old bottle pops up. And then I'm digging in this old boot with nails in it. And I was like, I know this is old. And then as we keep digging, I'm just like more and more excited. And then there's a pocket watch that pops out of the ground. And I was just hooked at that point. I was like, there's treasure in the ground. And I didn't even know it was called a bottle dump. Like, I didn't know any of that yet. And so I went back and started researching, and that's when my ex-husband and we bought metal detectors, and yeah, we just were like, oh wow, this is crazy. There's history. That's when I started watching YouTube really for the first time, watching different videos on bottle dumps and metal detecting, and saw my first video on mudlarking. And that's what inspired my first trip to the UK, was these videos. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to. And so I got a permit to be a mudlark and got to spend time on the Thames River for the first time, finding artifacts. And I've been able to make a couple of trips over there. I love the history in the UK. It's just so old, and such a different. I was talking to somebody the other day how it depends upon where you're at, what old history is. So in Alaska, if you find something from the 1800s, it's old history. And if you go over to the East Coast and you find something that's from 1700s, well, then that's old history. But if you go to the UK, old history is the 1500s. So, it's all kind of relative. So for me, making those trips, being able to find artifacts from 16, 1700s over there, that's, really amazing. Whereas the people that find stuff that live in the UK, they're like, oh, well, we need something a lot earlier than that.
I just heard a while back. I don't know, we had a guest on. I don't know, this was a while ago though. Talked about mudlarking. That was the first time I ever heard mudlarking, that term.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite things. I could spend weeks just in a flat next to the Thames River, just hitting every low tide out there. It's pretty cool.
That's true, Terry. If the guy upstairs wants you gone, you're gone. I was watching. I've watched this show. I don't know what it was called. Anyways, on TV, and they had this guy skiing, and he was just, just got carried away, forgot what he was doing, and he goes over this cliff, and he falls like 150 feet, and he lands on his back, and all of his buddies thinks he's dead, and he goes up there, and he just gets up and grabs the camera and keeps filming him and laughing, and wow, that was really cool. Hey, you can go through some hell. You hear people survive airplane crashes. If it's
Yeah.
not your time, it's not your time.
Well,
So,
that's really the only way you're gonna live life to the fullest. Because I have met so many people that are so afraid of dying and being injured, and if it stops you from living your life, so many people are just living in fear. They want to scuba dive, but they're afraid they'll drown. They want to try skydiving, but they're afraid. There's always something that's going to keep them, and it's like, we're all going to go. There's only one way out of this world. Someday we're all going to go, and we're making memories now.
I agree with you. We're all going to go one day, but I just don't want to go tomorrow. And so, I there's like a thing. Yeah, I could go out there and play dodgeball with traffic. I know what's going to happen if I do that. It might be a thrill, but sooner or later, it's going to get me.
So it comes down to calculated risk, because everyone takes a risk. And so, you kind of have to look at it. I heard somebody say the other day that more people die every year in vending machine accidents than in scuba diving accidents.
Wow.
So I guess we should all be afraid to use vending machines if we follow that logic. So, anything can take us out. People die, there's so many people a year, I don't remember what the number is, that die from, toasters. I mean, it's crazy what happens.
No.
And, people get in their car all the time without thinking about it. Thousands and thousands of people die every year in car accidents. And yet we get in our car and we're not afraid. We don't even think about it. And so, but the big thing is, we're careful when we drive. We follow the rules, hopefully. We're cautious, we're careful. We don't take unnecessary risk. And it's the same with scuba diving or any of these other sports. Follow what you're trained. Don't take unnecessary risk. And you're going to have a great time diving.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like me, Kate, I didn't mind scuba diving. I wouldn't jump out of an airplane. That I would not do that. Anyways, I have a brother.
I've always said that too, but we have to overcome these fears too.
No,
we
I'll
can't...
never. I'll
it
never
may
do
be your favorite thing once you do it.
No, I don't like heights. The older I get, the scareder I get of heights. But I got a brother was in the army, diving out of planes and stuff. And I'd say I'd pass out. He'd say, you can't. You're getting so much air, you can't pass out. But yet I've seen where somebody jumps out and they hit their head on the thing and then they pass out and their buddy has to hurry and get to. No, anyways, I don't need to. But here's the thing. You mentioned risk. So where does the risk factor come into play? Where, like, let's say you're walking down the street and you see $20 laying on the ground or $100 laying on the ground, you'll probably pick it up. There's no risk involved. If that $100 bill is across the street, you might run across the street and grab it. There's no risk involved. But if it's up on a high rise and you've got a 2x4 pole that you've got to walk across to get that 100, well, now there's a risk factor. Where does that risk factor come into play that it's no longer worth it? And that's
well, and that's different for each person, because each person has a different need or a different goal or a different place in life. So, you have to look at it and decide. For somebody, they're going to say, I'm only going to be an open water diver. I'm never going to go deeper because I'm not comfortable with the risk factor. And then you have people who are going to be tech divers who want the extra training, and they're fine going down to 350 feet, and they feel like their training has minimized their risk factor enough that they're comfortable with it. So it's really up to each individual. The main thing is knowing what you're comfortable with, knowing the risk factor, and that you've done everything to be as safe as you can. So it's just like cave diving, okay? With cave diving, so many people I've talked to, they say, oh, it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. The thing about cave diving is it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. You take an open water diver and say, here, there's a cave, go in and go for a dive. It's going to be stupid. And so you lower that risk factor by being trained, by knowing what you're doing, by going into it with your eyes open, saying, okay, these are things I need to watch for. When you're doing cave diving, there's different rules on how much gas you take in with you, on having redundancy. You need to have redundancy on your redundancy. So lights upon lights upon lights, and extra masks, and so you try to lower the risk factor as much as you can. In life, there's always a risk factor. We have to, like I said, you get up in the morning, there's a risk factor in almost everything we do.
And I try not to take any unnecessary risk.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if we don't take some, you're never going to live life. You're going to be locked in your house,
Well, that's me. I mean, I drive my ATV around. I have fun. I enjoy life. I have an adventure. I go metal detect. I walk up and down mountains and stuff, but I like my feet on the ground,
Yeah. And it's up to each person. For some people, they're terrified of ATVs. They won't even ride. They've seen horror stories. So, it really is, risk is, different for each person.
And just do what you want and enjoy what you do.
Yep.
If you want to scuba dive, I wanted to do it. I have a lot of friends that were doing it. I just kept saying I was going to do it. Finally, I pulled the plug and I done it. Okay, now I done it. I don't have the desire to jump out of an airplane, so it ain't going to happen.
Yep.
I don't care how many people tell me, "Oh, it's fun, let's go." It ain't happening. Enjoy it, go for it.
And I've talked to people that jump out of airplanes, and they are like terrified to take a scuba class. They're like, I'll jump out of an airplane any day, but don't put me under the water.
Yeah. And it's funny. Yeah. Some people can't. Yeah. Anyways, but no, I've had friends that, like, we've taught dredge classes, and I've had friends that can't go underwater, no matter what, full face mask, anything. They just can't go under. They're just paranoid of that. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of different fears from the past that are challenging for people to overcome. You should never go any higher than you're afraid to fall. That's true. And I always said, my guardian angel says I should never drive faster than my guardian angel can fly. Yeah. Yes. Very true. Some people have really, really fast guardian angels, though. I've seen them on the highway.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they think about the.
I think they're giving their guardian angel a workout.
Yeah, that or they don't think about that. Yeah. There was another question myself, but that disappeared. So you got any cool stuff there too? What with the stuff you find? What do you do with it all?
It depends. For a while I was selling stuff, but it takes too much time to make things and package and sell and run all of that. So mostly, I have a couple things I've offered to museums. I like to repurpose a lot of what I find. I like to find, like an old lamp and fix it and restore it and use it. And a lot of, like, my oil bottle is an 1800s oil bottle I found and cleaned up. And so, yeah, my house kind of looks like a museum, but I'm pretty happy, living in dead people's stuff all around me, and I'm pretty happy.
Oh, this. I was gonna say this was Bethany, but it's not. This is a. Was that a shark tooth? Huh.
Oh yeah, very nice.
I found that. No, I didn't find it. This lady sent it to me. Brittany. I thought it was Bethany. It's Brittany. That
Yep.
was somebody.
Meg teeth are pretty awesome. They're fun to dive for.
Oh, I've seen some of them. There's that lady that dives out there, the treasure hunter lady. She says they go down and they get all these big megalodon teeth and they sell them, and it's like, wow, that's
Yeah, there's some huge ones. There's some big ones out there. It's fun. I really enjoy going down and seeing what you can find down there.
I would go out to Florida just to detect the beaches. I would like to do that.
I've done a little bit of it. I don't know, for me. I mean, I'm just not into finding 1970s coins. Like, I found so many, and finally I was like, I'm done with this. I'm like looking for some really old history, and this is driving me crazy. So, beach detecting just isn't my thing. Some people really like it, but I just need to get in an old outhouse hole. That's my thing.
The old out hassle.
Yeah, I need to get in there.
Yeah. No, I enjoy history as far as I enjoy metal detecting. I enjoy going into parks. It's cool if you find something old, rings and jewelry, but just to be able to find something,
Hmm.
I've gone up in the UP. I was going to say UK, but the UP, and I've detected copper artifacts, that from the Indians of arrowheads and stuff like that. From there, here it's cool if you dig up and find an old miner's belt buckle or an old miner's, snap or a button or
Hmm.
something like that. To me, that's cool stuff. I enjoy that. Or a nugget, piece of gold.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Yeah, no, it's really cool anywhere you go. I did my first East Coast trip this last April, and I did Boston down to South Carolina for some different digs. I met up with some other YouTubers, and I did a big dig in North Carolina with dig stock events, and did my first Native American dig down there, which was really cool. We were sifting some cool things out. I found a really cool thumb hide scraper and some broken points, pieces of Native American pottery in North Carolina there, and found lots of cool history working my way down. I stayed at this really cool Airbnb outside of Richmond, Virginia, and just so happened that the lady let me metal detect her property, and I found an 1800s bottle dump over the edge of her property, and she's like, I don't think you'll find anything, and here's this huge dump. I extended my stay by 2 days and just dug. I found colonial buttons, Civil War buttons. So yeah, it's just crazy. You never know what you're gonna uncover.
no, that'd be good. Richard. Oh, so Richard said, "What's your YouTube channel?" Gold Pan says it's called Alaska Relic Hunter.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have my YouTube channel is Alaska Relic Hunter, and then I have a public page on Facebook, and that's Bethany Alaska Relic Hunter. So a lot of people like to follow that. I do a lot more updates on my Facebook page just because I'm very busy and it takes me quite a while to get the YouTube videos out. Um, So I do pretty much daily updates where I'm going, what I'm finding, my dives, all of that on Facebook and Instagram. So those are, you're going to stay a little bit more up to date on what I'm doing there.
Somebody said beach detecting is boring. So again, it just depends what you like to do. I would love to go out. I know a couple guys that they say they go to Florida every year. They fly down to Florida. They'll rent a place. They'll stay out there for a week. What they find on the beach in the gold and silver rings pays for their trip, and they do that every year.
Yep, and I've heard people do that. So it kind of depends. Everybody has their own niche, and for me, I love the historical time period. I love the history from the 1800s, and so that's my happy place if I'm getting in there and finding some of that.
Well, I'm in a campground that was established here in the late 1800s. So there's a campground here. You got gold in the mountains. You got the Colorado River for that old ship channel. You might as well just come on out here. You can have fun.
Well, I'm going to have to make that one of my next trips. I'm going to have to plan some winter trips right now. I only have one trip planned, possibly to Texas, and then I think California. So got a few things coming up.
Well, you're right in between there then.
I know.
From Texas to California, you got to go right through me.
I know. Well, I'll have to figure it out. Add another stop in there.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so what time is it? You're an hour different than what we are, aren't you?
Yeah, it's about 5 p.m. here.
Okay.
So.
Terry says, have you ever used Dawn Power Wash to clean your finds?
No. With my bottles and a lot of the glass that I find, I put them in a citric acid soak. I like how citric acid, I've tried a couple other kinds of acids, and I like the citric acid. It cleans them up. It takes a little bit longer, but it leaves them clean. They don't have like a residue left on them afterwards. So I will do a day or two of a citric acid soak in water, and then I'll have a couple little brushes and kind of clean stuff up. So
Claude Hopper, I agree with you. I'm not going in water where there's critters big enough to eat me. That's right.
Hey, I'm more scared of some of the critters on land than the stuff in the ocean. Nothing in the ocean's ever scared me. Hey, I spent a couple days in New Orleans, and that place at 2 a.m. is really scary. Way worse than the ocean.
Well, that's one of the first things I asked the instructor when we went to the lake. I said, there's no like big fish out here or nothing, is there? So you get down the bottom and there's like these huge catfish. They're just sitting down there, and it's like, whoa.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I just reach out and poke them,
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really love, I'm just fascinated. The more I'm in the ocean, the things I find every dive, I see something that I don't know what it is. And that's how I started getting into underwater photography. At first, I took my GoPro down because I just wanted a picture to figure out what it was. And then I'm just seeing these tiny, like almost microscopic, just beautiful creatures. And so then I invested in a better underwater camera that does like the macro photography. And it's just, I love going down for an hour and taking my camera and taking these pictures of these tiny creatures. And then when you go back and you look at them, you're like, this thing that's like the size of a grain of rice, you can see his eyes and he was looking at me.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. So, the macro photography, that's something I've really been enjoying. I've been uploading a lot of pictures to Facebook, and I'm getting ready to do a YouTube video that's going to be a little bit different than the other ones. And I just kind of want to put a whole bunch of my macro photography out there and just kind of introduce people to all the cool little creatures that are in the ocean.
I saw somebody posted a picture of macro of an ant. I don't know if you saw that. A close-up of an ant.
They're kind of scary looking.
Yeah, you saw that picture?
Yeah,
That was wicked looking. Man.
I know. And
Yeah,
that's
they got
all
like
ant.
a little ant. I know. They're
Yeah.
red eyes and horns and hairs all over them, and that was
Yeah.
freaky.
Can you imagine if that was the size of a dog?
Oh man, that
You'd
would hurt you.
walk around a tree and see that thing looking at you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That was pretty, pretty. Somebody said they like your shirt.
Oh, yep. Alaska chicks. They've got the
Oh.
best Alaska wear.
So when you go, so where are you at? So like, you got to rent a hotel there, or what is it that you're there?
So I'm actually staying in my friend's attic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I've got a lot of friends here in Sitka that I can stay with, and they take me out on their boats. And one of my past dive students here, he lets me use his electric scooter every time I'm over here, and it's just a great community. Everybody, I got people inviting me over for dinner, and everybody wants to go diving with me, and so it's fun when I show up just to kind of connect up with everybody again.
You're the talk of. So Terry says, any critters ever scare you?
The two-legged ones, I've got some crazy stories about the two-legged land dwellers. Those are the ones that have scared me more than anything. In the ocean, I've never had anything ever that's made me feel scared. I've seen some huge fish. I like to go down to Catalina and dive in the kelp forest down there. Just beautiful. I love it. They have these giant sea bass. They're called California wreckfish, and they're like the size of a small car. They're huge. Like, their eye is the size of my head. They're just massive, and I just love like hanging out next to them. They're just gentle giants, and it's pretty cool. You kind of get to go down into their world and see everything.
But you're their food source.
No, I'm not their food source.
What
They
are
eat
they
like
eating?
tiny fish.
Well, anything that's bigger than you're their food source.
Not when I'm blowing loud bubbles and I got bright lights. They're like, "What are you? Stay away from me. You scare me."
Oh. So you don't never ran into like any sharks and stuff like that?
Oh, I would love to dive with more sharks. I got to dive with a really beautiful reef shark in Hawaii, about a 7 or 8 foot white tip, gorgeous reef shark. I got a video on my YouTube channel. Got to dive with a couple of sharks when I was in Cozumel. I would like to get down to South Africa and dive with the great whites. I know a gal who does that, and I need to get rich before I can do that, but one of these days I'm gonna get down there and do that. So
So they say, oh yeah, sharks won't hurt you. Then why do people go down in those steel cages, to film, and then the sharks are attacking the cages and stuff? Yeah. Oh, they won't hurt you.
Yeah, that's because they're baiting them. I would not be down there during a feeding frenzy. See, that's the thing, is you're creating.
Uh-oh.
So if
you disappeared there for a moment.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
You lost internet there for a second.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm on an island. It happens. But
walruses and manatees don't eat people on their bigger than most people.
There's a lot of big creatures in the ocean. The thing is, sound is magnified so many times underneath the water that even the sound of you breathing through your regulator is scary for most animals. Your bubbles are so loud just because sound is so loud underneath the water. Your bright lights, that is not normal. And that's why if you can get close to some of these animals, it's a treat. because you are artificial looking, you're scary, you're unknown, you don't look like a food source to these animals. And that's what most people don't realize. The people that are bitten by sharks, it's a case of mistaken identity. Okay, they're splashing on the top of the water, they're swimmers, they're surfers, they look like a sea lion or a seal. And so a shark comes up from underneath, all he can see is a black shape, and they're splashing. When you're down at their level, you don't look like a sea lion, you don't look like a seal. You're obviously, you've got a big tank, you're loud, you've got bubbles, you're bright lights. You don't look like a meal to most of these animals. So this is why it's almost impossible for you to find reliable stories of scuba divers being attacked by sharks unless they're messing with them. If you're messing with them, you're handling them, you're poking them, you're bothering them, well, you kind of get what you deserve at that point. Leave them alone. But the stories you hear are surfers or swimmers, and it's really kind of a case of mistaken identity. And, I know people laugh, but sharks kind of get a bad rap. Like, when you're a scuba diver, they don't act the same way as if you're a swimmer. I would never want to swim in water with sharks at night on the surface, ever, ever, ever. But I will go down and scuba dive with them because I know that I don't look like food at that point. So it is one of those things that, as scuba divers, a lot of times we dive with sharks and we try to let people know that they're not like scary killing machines that are just out to be man-eaters. They're really cool. If you watch them when they're not being baited in and put into a feeding frenzy, they're really cool just to watch in their environment. But, if you send anything into a feeding frenzy, at that point, you're kind of taking it out of your control.
Yeah, I've got some friends that's same with snakes. Oh, don't kill them. They're good for the environment. They don't hurt you. They'll leave you alone. I knew this one guy that used to pick them up and carry them away, and all the time until he got bit one day, and then all of a sudden it's like, kill them, son of a bitches.
Yeah, no, snakes are another thing. I'm kind of scared of snakes. But
they don't
live in Alaska, so I don't know which are good snakes and which are bad snakes. So, yeah.
Well, generally, if a head's bigger than the body, it's a bad snake.
Okay. Well, all I know is if I see anything, I was in South Dakota and something went slithering by, and I think I jumped like 10 feet in the air, and I was like, I'm out of here. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yes. See, we don't like critters. We don't like anything that can hurt us. Look at a little dinky scorpion can hurt you.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the nice thing about Alaska. Anything that's going to hurt you up here, you can see coming. It's the size of a fridge or larger. So, you can see it coming. It's not going to get you without you knowing. So.
That's true. In Alaska, you got bears to worry about, and you got those. I was like, probably 15 feet away from one of those muskox. I got an awesome picture of this muskox coming around the corner. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but the stuff up here, it's big. You kind of know how to avoid it, how to deal with it. I don't know. Down there where it's warm, you got all these little tiny creepy crawlies that can bite you in your sleep. Like, I don't know about that.
What kind of bears you got up there in Alaska?
Well, we've got brown bears, grizzlies, and black bears, and then there's polar bears way, up north. So,
what's the bad ones?
They can all be bad. It just depends upon the bear.
One of them's more aggressive, though. Is it the
yeah, the grizzlies and polar bears can be aggressive. Any bear can be dangerous. They're big and they can be hungry. The ones you have to be careful for are the sows with cubs. That's where you've got a mama bear. You just don't want to be anywhere near her cubs. That's the big thing.
Oh, Alaska, you guys got the mosquitoes the size of freight trucks up there, though.
Yeah, but they're big and you can kill them. You know, I got way more attacked by mosquitoes when I was in Egypt. Those little things eat you alive, and they're tiny, and you can't kill them. At least the ones up here, they're big. They land on you. You hear them coming. You kill them. You know, it's easier.
There's the old saying up in Alaska, you've got the grizzly bears and you got the brown bears, and you can always tell the difference which is which by looking at their scat, looking at
Yeah,
their poop.
because the brown bears have all the little bells from all the tourists.
Yeah. No, the brown bears have berries. The grizzlies have the little bells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being from Alaska, you of course you would know that.
Yeah. No, you know, I have spent so much time. I grew up hunting and trapping and fishing, you know, with my stepdad, and I've spent a lot of time out in the woods. I've done some railroad drop-offs where the train drops you off at a remote location, and I've seen so much bear scat, and I've never really had a close incident. Um, you know, with the big thing is you just, not that it can't happen, more risk if you're hunting and you've got game down and it smells like a fresh kill. You know, but you just be prepared, you make noise, you be smart.
Yeah, I've heard that bears, they go into the oceans and the waters looking for fish, and they love scuba divers.
I think it'd be kind of cool if I could see one underwater. Like that would be like a really cool video. If
Look
I'm
up
like
and
videoing and I'm like, oh, there's a bear that swam by. You know,
yeah.
it's those weird things when they're in the water. So moose will actually dive down to the bottom of the lakes to get the vegetation out.
Really?
And they'll dive down like 15, 20 feet to the bottom of the lake. And I've always thought it would be the funniest thing if you're diving and you see a moose swim past you.
That would be.
Like, that would be crazy, right?
Oh man, to catch that on camera, that would be really cool.
I'd be like, wow, I just saw a moose go by.
Yeah, people wouldn't believe that. They say it's doctored.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do.
See, Janan. Hello. Anyways, alrighty, we'll wrap things up here. Let you get about your busy day. So let me ask you this here. So, if somebody wanted to say get involved with either treasure hunting or maybe relic hunting or even scuba diving, what piece of advice would you give anybody?
Research. Just start researching, and that's the big thing with any of these. Do your research, you know, really well ahead of time. Especially with scuba diving, you can get some not so reputable places and instructors. So do your research, ask around, find a place with, you know, a good reputation, lots of experience, and you know, jump in, get involved with different groups. I think that's the greatest. Dig stock events is really awesome. I sell metal detectors for them up here in Alaska. So actually, you know, if you want to buy a metal detector, you can get them through me and we'll ship them anywhere. But yeah, you know, dig stock events is awesome because there's lots of people that travel all over to their events, and it's a great place for new metal detectorists to get involved. And that's what I saw when I was down in North Carolina. It was really awesome. We had so many people that were there for the first time, and you know, it was their first event, and they were just asking people like, I don't know how to use my machine. So go to events. There's metal detecting events all over the world. I've gone to some great detectables over in England. You know, jump in, do the different events, detectables, talk to people who have done it, ask them questions. You know, a lot of people aren't going to take you to their dig site. Now, I do have a dig site. If people want to come up to Alaska and go digging with me, I have a dig site that I will take people to, and I can guarantee they're going to get some bottles.
All right.
So, you know, it's, yeah, meet up with others and just do a lot of research. And main thing is get out there and do it. Everybody says, I'm too busy. Someday I'm going to do this, or someday I'm going to do that. And the big thing is stop saying someday. Just get out there and, go try.
What's your favorite detector to use?
Well, I am looking into possibly getting a Legend. I haven't used it yet. I have Garrett's right now. I have an AT Pro, and I have an Ace that was my first metal detector I ever had, and it's good, but I went up to the AT Pro. There's a lot of good metal detectors. There's a lot of good ones. I'm not going to say one or the other is going to be better. The big thing is, I know. The big thing is get out and get one that is going to be for what you need, and figure it out. Put a lot of hours on it, and you'll know right away if it's going to work for you or not. There's lots of options. Try a couple different ones. See what you like.
Janon says, are you going to go to the Dick Stock in October in California?
I really wanted to. I've thought about it. I actually, my oldest son graduates from tech school in the Air Force in California in October. So I was kind of like, trying to figure it out. But honestly, when it's running, I think I'm teaching. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to make that one, but I'm going to try to be at another one for sure.
We lost you again, but there you are. Okay. All righty. So what's your channel again on YouTube?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, Alaska Relic Hunter, and on Facebook, it's Bethany Alaska Relic Hunter. And if you just Google Bethany Alaska Relic Hunter, all the social media will come up and all the podcasts, and you can stalk me that way.
Hey, all right. Hey, we appreciate you taking some time hanging with us this evening, sharing some of your adventures.
Absolutely. It was great to be on with you again.
Okay. Hey, you take care. Best of luck. Have a great holiday coming up this weekend, and get out and find some treasures, and we'll meet down the road sometime.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks, man.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I want to thank Bethany for hanging with us. Everybody else's, all your prizes, guys, have all been shipped out from the last wheel. You guys all have a safe weekend this weekend coming up. You guys all be safe. Stay out of trouble. Get out, have some adventures. Like they say, go create an adventure. Remember, life's too short, so go do some adventures. So, hey, want to thank you guys hanging with us, inviting us into your homes, your living rooms, your iPads, your iPhone, whatever you guys got. You guys all take care. Have a fantastic week. Get out. And until we meet again, thanks, everybody. See y'all. Bye.